Hello my Band crew and welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to be discussing the future of the Crash Bandicoot franchise. If this is your first time coming to the channel, I release Crash Bandicoot content every single week. We discuss lore, theories, news, we do tier lists and interviews, I have a Crash Bandicoot podcast I'm trying to get back going, and we also do little discussions like this one today, the future of the Crash Bandicoot franchise. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. So I've really just been doing these non-scripted videos for the past couple weeks, just going on the fly, not much editing going on. And I think that people tend to like these videos, so I'm going to keep going with these for a little bit and see what's going on. But anyway, point being is we're going to talk about the future of the Crash Bandicoot series, what I hope will happen, what I want to happen, and what most likely is going to happen. I'm not gonna say, like, oh, I want Nintendo to buy Crash and for Crash to be, like, super popular. Like, I'm gonna try and keep it realistic with my my desires for the Crash Bandicoot series. And right now, where we stand with Crash, every game that has come out since the Insane Trilogy has sold relatively well. Even Crash Team Rumble, which people love to crap on, sold decently well. It didn't sell like amazing, but it didn't sell like garbage. So I think Crash is in a good place right now. Unfortunately, we're getting stuff like this Crash Bandicoot Brawl AI stuff thrown in our faces, and it's really putting a sour outlook on the franchise as a whole, I think. But Activision owns Crash, and Microsoft owns Activision. So now it's all up to Microsoft what they want to do with Crash. And from what we know about Microsoft, they let the developers do what they want to do. So like they won't be like, hey, go make a Banjo-Kazooie game. If Rare wants to make a Banjo-Kazooie game, they can make a Banjo-Kazooie game. But Crash is a different kind of character because he's like not one company. Like Crash has been developed by tons of different companies. So it's not just like, oh, Rare's going to make a Banjo-Kazooie game. Now, instead of letting a developer do what they want to do, Crash is in a weird place where unless someone steps up and pitches something to Microsoft, I don't think a Crash game will get made because it's not like there's no team for Crash right now. So a team is not going to go up to Microsoft and be like, hey, I want to make a Crash game right now. If that makes any sense. I just said, like, a team needs to go up. But I meant, like, any team. Any team that's pitching a game for Crash needs to go up. They don't own Crash, but any Tom, Dick, or Harry can go up and be like, hey, this is what I have and an idea for Crash, and I want to make it. And then it's up to Microsoft whether or not they're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, you can make that. So what I really wish would happen right now is that we would get a lot of smaller projects. We don't need like these giant AAA titles that need to sell X amount of units to become profitable in the Microsoft's eyes. We can just have little adventures. I would love a bunch of side-scrollers like the Huge Adventure or 2 Entrance. Like, give me some Crash games that are just fun little adventures. I would love for them to go back to do that. I've already mentioned in another video of mine that I would love for them to make some remakes of some of the lesser-known games or the games that people aren't able to play. An example being the 99X Crash Bandicoot game. We have playthroughs on YouTube, but I could almost guarantee you vast majority of people haven't played that game. We know about Mr. Crumb because of Crash on the Run. He was brought back. So unless you're like a diehard fan that like reads up on the Crash wiki and is in the Crash fandom, you're not going to even know who Mr. Crumb is. So if they could like remake It wouldn't have to be a one-for-one remake because it's an LCD video game screen. But like I said in that other video, you have the lore, and you have all these characters that could be implemented into a Crash 99X game. Grumbler is a mummy, and then we have the mummy lab assistants, we have the Pharaoh lab assistants, there's the Batling character from Titans that could be hanging out in the wood levels. There's just so much to pull from, and it would be an amazing side-scroller experience, I think, if they went back and just, like, used some ideas and then implemented other stuff from the franchise into it. And again, that's just one of the quote-unquote remakes that I said. They could make new adventures. Side-scrolling platformers are, like, all the rage right now. I'm not saying that I want, like, a Meat Boy or a Celeste, or I don't want them to try and copy other stuff, but just jumping, spinning, bazooka, just good old-fashioned Crash. I would love for them to release bi-yearly little platformer games, and they don't even need to be physical releases, I guess. I love physical releases, but if they just release them onto, you know, Steam or all the other online services for the consoles, that'd be fine for me too. Just have Crash back in the public eye. If you're not advertising Crash, Crash is going to fall off. So having Crash have yearly releases again, like I said, they don't need to be giant AAA titles. Just have little fun adventures. And then we got, years and years ago, we got like little Crash cartoons that were tied to the Radical games. There was Monster Truck. There was the one with the cloning machine that made all the carbon crashes. I think they could make little shorts, little 2-3 minute Crash shorts, and just release them on a official Crash Bandicoot YouTube channel. I think those would do wonderful. Like, there's so many colorful characters in the Crash franchise. People always compare it to Looney Tunes. Just give us some little zany, funny little shorts. I'd love it. Heck, what I saw, how Sonic... I'm not as big a Sonic fan as I am Crash, so forgive me for not remembering the actual name. But I know that when one of the more recent side-scrolling games came out, they had a bunch of shorts. And just the style of those shorts, if Crash was able to emulate stuff like that, if they had visually cartoony Crash stuff like that on that level, that would be so great, and I would love it so much. So, we've had cartoons in the past, so let's just kind of like try and get back onto that, get some cartoons going, get some little side platformer games going. And I'm not saying that I want a movie starring Tom Holland, or, you know, a giant show like they were going to do that got canceled. Just give us some little shorts, give us some little platformers, just keep Crash relevant, because the worst thing that we can do for Crash is just sit on the IP and do nothing. We don't need to churn out a bunch of shovelware bullcrap, either. We don't need AI stuff like this. Just give us some little bite-sized pieces of fun. And then, you know, have another developer in the background while the smaller projects are being worked on. Then we can have a Crash Bandicoot 5, or a Crash Bandicoot 9, whatever you want to call it, 8, 9, taking place after the Radical games. Like, there are so many places to pull from. We've seen a bunch of cut content, like the Cortex game, Cortex Chaos. We can have another party game, like Crash Bash. I've seen people clamoring for a Crash Bash remake. And you know what? It doesn't need to be specifically a Crash Bash remake, but a Crash Party game would be so much fun. I keep saying that we don't need to copy other franchises, and I know that people in my comment section will say, Crash isn't Sonic, so I know me comparing the Sonic shorts, saying Crash should do that. I know I'm going to get some backlash there. And this next thing I'm going to say might get backlash too. But a Fall Guys in the style of Crash Bandicoot would be so much fun. It would be like Crash Bash on a whole nother level. You can, like, all the different cosmetics and skins and characters, and all the different mini games that they could do. It's just, I hate that the series is, like, pigeonholed. Is that the correct term? Like, being overly restricted. We don't need to have one game come out every 5 or 6 years that's had so much development time and so much money pumped into it, and then if it doesn't sell well, they go, oh, well, the fans don't want this game, or the fans don't want Crash Bandicoot anymore, because not everyone's gonna like every kind of game style. So, yeah, Crash Team Rumble came out. Not everyone was into that, so of course it's not gonna sell, and it's not saying we don't want Crash, it's saying people weren't interested in that. So if they put all their eggs in one basket, and then it doesn't perform as high as they wanted it to, it looks bad. So, pretty much, that's everything that I have to say. I would really like for Crash to get shorts on YouTube in an official capacity. That would be a lot of fun. Some little platformers throughout the year, and then every once in a while, since it takes 3 to 4 years, then we can get those big releases. I want to know in the comment section what you guys think. Don't say, oh, I want a AAA movie released in theaters starring Tom Holland. Don't say stuff like that. Try to keep it realistic. Like, what would you personally do if you had control of the IP right now? What would you do with Crash to keep him relevant and in a realistic manner? Okay, my Bandit crew, I hope you enjoyed this little discussion, and let's keep the discussion going in the comments section. You take care. Have a great night.